Gobi Desert, and the government hopes it will make future communications impossible to hack by relying on physics rather than conventional encryption. Now, let me try and explain this to you, because this quantum communication satellite is said to be far more advanced than any other. It uses photons to send the encryption keys necessary to decode information. Any attempt to eavesdrop on the data will cause it to self-destruct, letting users know it's been compromised. To start with, China will use this satellite to send secure messages between Beijing and Urumqi, the regional capital of Xinjiang in the country's far west. And we'll be discussing that in just a few moments with the BBC's Chinese service. But first, a short while ago, I spoke to Professor Myeon-Sik Kim from the Imperial College of London. He explained how difficult it is for quantum mechanics to transfer data over long distances and how impressive this satellite will be if it's successful.
The quantum mechanics, it's very difficult to realize in a long distance, because if you see Wikipedia, for instance, it says that quantum mechanics is useful theory for subatomic scale. But when they say satellite, that means a very long distance. You mentioned Urumqi and somewhere else in China. That's a long distance. How do we keep the quantum information for a long time? That's a big challenge, and the Chinese are going to do it using satellite.
So this is a pretty big deal in physics.
Yes, it is a big deal. That is because quantum mechanics is meant to be the queen of physics, but it was limited to academic interests. When the theory of quantum communication appeared, they realized the practical uses of quantum mechanics, and now doing this and then using this for our practical life, that would be wonderful. It's a big news.
It's incredibly expensive as well, isn't it? Something like $100 billion was spent on this?
Yes, that is true. But is this because it is the first time to do it? If you repeat it, I'm sure that the industrial people will be able to have the cost down. And it is there, and it will be there for a long time. By using it more and more, the cost per use will be lowered.
That was Professor Kim speaking to me there a little earlier. Well, with me now in the studio is Vincent Nee from BBC's Chinese service. Vincent, how did this whole project actually come about?
It's very interesting, Yelda. The idea was first proposed by Austrian scientists. He proposed to the European Space Agency back in 2011 without any success. That was 15 years ago. And sometime around 2008, the Chinese scientists picked it up. Apparently, one of the leading scientists in the Chinese project used to be the student of this Austrian scientist. So this idea was eventually transferred to the Chinese Academy of Science. And then here we go. We see, China has the money, China has the political will, and then there is such a grand project being launched today.
And one of the key things that China said that it wanted to do was send messages from Beijing to Urumqi.
Yes, from Beijing to Urumqi. I think the implication is that, with this technology, you can send very, very secure messages. After 2013, the Snowden revelation, the world has known that there is something, probably there is something going on behind the scenes. So every country, every government is worried. Particularly in China, they have this concern as well. We have seen the government has asked the civil servants not to use foreign-made computers for a probable sense of national security concern. So with this new technology, with this new invention, in China, this would probably make it more secure to transfer messages for the Chinese government.
And has there been any chatter on social media about it?
It definitely is. I mean, this is also an example of national pride. We know this project was actually named after an ancient Chinese philosopher called Confucius. And then this guy was, a very famous philosopher as well as a scientist. And China was used to be a land kind of innovation. We know China, in ancient times, China invented the black powder, paper, printing, and even compass. And now this new quantum thing is really something that, propelled this national pride of China's, past glory, if you like.
It's interesting because it's all really part of China's plans for soft power. We see it competing very well at the Olympics and it wants to be ahead when it comes to science and technology.
That's right. And as I said, China has the money these days. And more importantly, China has the political will. This is extremely important. How many times have we seen from the UK media that government is struggling with the scientific funding? But China, there is not a problem. China, in fact, the Chinese government has this 13th five-year plan in which they ask every single municipality as well as province to come up with proposals to advance China's technology. So the money is there, the political is there, and then we see China is actually working very hard to invent more technologically advanced products.
Indeed, I was reading somewhere this morning that they're saying that this was a race and China appears to be winning it. Vincent, thanks so much for joining us. To stay with us here on Impact, still to come, a group of prisoners is transferred from Guantanamo Bay to the United Arab Emirates.